When I was young, me and my friends used to do sleepovers all the time, but this one night left us completely shaken. It was coincidentally October when this happened. We were doing it at my house, and my parents had gone to my granddad's house, and my brother was away with his girlfriend for the week. It was a school holiday in October and was close to Halloween. We were in the living room playing games and then went to watching the movie Step Brothers. We then got a phone call. We paused the movie, answered it, and on the other end we heard the raspy, croaky voice of a man asking what we were watching. For some reason I didn't realise how creepy it was to ask, so I told him. He then said, "What is your name?" This one was weird, so I made up a name. "Really? You sure it's not Andy?" I looked up at my friend Andy and my other friend Chris, whose faces I could tell were full of fear, just like mine. "Andy, do you know who that was?" I asked. "No," he said. We started to gather our thoughts, each having different assumptions, but none of them were even close to realistic. So we decided to leave it and carry on watching TV. Later, when the movie had just finished, we heard leaves crunching outside. We all looked out the window and screamed when we saw a man at the front door. He heard us and tried opening the door, but thank God my parents locked it. We called the police and they found him hiding in a bush and they arrested him. I was sleeping at my friend's house one night. Whilst we were sleeping, we could hear some type of banging sound. We decided to just ignore it and go back to sleep. Not even 20 seconds later, we heard it again, so we decided to look out the bedroom window. My heart dropped. We both ran to my friend's dad and told him we saw a man at the front door. We called the police, but after we did, we heard glass breaking downstairs. We then heard footsteps around the house and eventually they came upstairs. We locked ourselves in the bathroom until the police came, but by the time they got here, the man was gone. I was working the night shift one night at the mall. I'm a security guard and I have come across people in the mall trying to rob it, but it's usually rare. It was April 2nd when this occurred, at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was walking around with my flashlight looking at cables and stuff like that, when I heard rattling coming from one of the closed stores. I had checked all the electrical things and searched nearly the entire mall, so I decided to go and check it out. Plus my shift was almost over, so I had some time to kill. I went inside and followed the sound all the way to the back of the store, but when I got there, the sound stopped. For the briefest of moments I was relieved and a bit annoyed, but I just turned around and that's when I heard another sound, this time coming from the basement. Out of nervousness, I reluctantly went down there, and I heard it again and realised it was the boiler room door opening and shutting. I put the flashlight quietly at an angle where it still lit up the boiler room door. I then took out my taser and pepper spray and walked to the door, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. I felt two arms wrapped tight around my neck, and if it wasn't for my friend coming in and tackling him to the floor, I would have been dead. I then busted open the door and sprayed another guy in there with the pepper spray, whilst he was trying to make a run for it. I then took them and called the police. They arrived and arrested them both. I thanked my friend for potentially saving my life. Apparently he decided to come and see me and ask if I wanted to stay at his house, which I'm glad he did, otherwise I would have died. Eventually this became too much and I quit about a week later. I will never work the night shift again. I was at school one day in my Spanish class. It was September, the beginning of high school, and we were all nearly falling asleep in class, when our teacher got an email saying that the school was going on lockdown, because 3 people armed with guns had entered the building. Me and my mates were actually shocked, as our teacher moved us all to the back of the classroom under the tables and behind the chairs, while she locked the door. We sat down there for nearly the full lesson, but we were not allowed to move from the classroom until lockdown was over. When there was about 5 minutes left until the end of the lesson, we heard about 3 men coming down the hallway. We also saw through the door window them carrying a teacher who I instantly recognised to be my history teacher. After they walked past our classroom, we heard a gunshot and then a scream. and that was just enough for the police to find them in the hallway with my history teacher bleeding on the floor. They got arrested, and thankfully my history teacher survived the gunshot. It turns out, as they were walking with him, he punched one of them and broke free. That then caused another one to shoot him in the back. He was paralysed after this, but still went back to teaching. This has been so far my scariest experience in my life.